I don't know, any of you have heard my radio program. Have you? Yeah, you have. You can receive the radio program here? Over the radio? You could, okay. I'm a finance person. I'm a money person. I spent about 21 years working in banking institutions, as investors, as treasurer for major corporations. So I was involved in money management all my life. And God started calling me at about age 40 and started working in my heart. I'm a very career-minded person. I love to make money, love to advance in my career. I thought my call in life is to make a lot of money and donate some of it to the church, and that's how I see as my responsibility. That was all good and fine until about age 40. God started calling me and changing my value system to the point that He asked me to leave my career and started a ministry that is an unpaid ministry. So I have been an unpaid worker, volunteer for the last 17 years. And the reason God called me to be a volunteer is because He wanted me to use my experience in finances and personal finances to help others, not only in their finances, but also in knowing Jesus Christ. So my real ministry is to share the gospel of Jesus Christ with them, except the tool that I use to get in touch with them or to have them come to me is that I will provide free financial advice. I will help them at their times of needs. Anything they want me to help concerning tax, concerning investment, concerning retirement planning, concerning property management, anything that has something to do with money. And I get a lot of chance to go into people's homes, particularly when they have special needs, particularly at end-of-life situations that I would be able to get in there to help them do their living trusts. And through that, share the gospel with them, oftentimes during their last days and last months, when they no longer want to meet anyone. People who are in their last days, they might be very sick, they don't want to meet anyone, but they have a need, so I would be able to go in there or go into their hospital room and help them set up their trust and share the gospel of Christ with them. So that has been my ministry, using financial management as a tool to reach people. And in doing so, because I'm not really selling anything to them, I don't have any product to sell to them or to earn any commission off them. So the motive for me is a lot purer, and for the people it becomes a little easier for them to have confidence in me, so they would share with me their hearts, worries, their concerns, and I would be able to help them meet Jesus Christ. So that has been my ministry. And I do speak at a lot of churches. 90% of our ministry is in Cantonese. 9% is in Mandarin, and maybe 1 or less in English. So my ministry is primarily to the Chinese population, overseas born, people who speak Cantonese and Mandarin. So it's very infrequent that I get to give workshops or speak to people in English. But we're going to look at financial stewardship. Before we go into all the techniques about how you can manage your finances better, I think as Christians we first have to understand what financial stewardship means. Financial stewardship simply means everything we have belongs to God. He is the real owner of everything we have. Not only our bank account, but all the opportunities that we have in life. Your opportunity to be able to have a job, to earn your living, to have an opportunity to save up some of what you earned, and to be able to invest them in a prudent manner. All of those opportunities come from the Lord. So everything we have actually belongs to Him. I think that's something non-Christians cannot understand. Obviously, their bank accounts has their name on it. It's their assets. So they feel they earn those belong to them. But as Christians, we know that everything we have come from God. And the Bible is filled with teachings about financial stewardship. And we're not going to go into details, but we have to remember that everything we have come from God. And tithing, the first thing we want to get over is that He wants us to give back a portion to Him. Now, there are two major thinkings about tithing. Now, I don't know whether you are in this camp or this camp. The first camp simply believes that it is God's command that we take from our earnings 1/10 of everything we earn and give to the Lord through the church. Malachi chapter 3, we often quote that from everything we earn, we recognize that these belongs to God, and God let us enjoy, use 90% of it, and 10% goes into His house. This is tithing. That's what most Christians, I think, believe in, and I don't dispute that. There's another camp. Another camp said that is really Old Testament. In the New Testament, there is nothing mentioned about tithing. When Jesus mentioned tithing, it's sort of in an offhanded way, mentioning the Pharisees. They tithe, yet they are really corrupt. So it's Jesus didn't say you have to tithe. And in all Paul's teaching to the churches, he never mentioned that you have to give 1/10. So another camp believes that tithing in the New Testament in today is really free will offering. They will look at the offering in the Old Testament and they figure it's not really just 10%, because they are required to give a little more than 30% of what they have. If you really want to stick to the Old Testament, it's a little over 30%. But then in the New Testament, it's no longer mentioned that a certain percentage or you have to give that to the Lord, but then it's a free will offering. So if you go to this famous church, John MacArthur's church, everybody knows, right? If you listen to his teaching, his tithing teaching is in the New Testament, it's all free will. It's all free will. Whereas in the Old Testament, the little over 30%, 33 and 1/3%, they're all mandatory. And his interpretation is those are equivalent to today's taxation. We just finished filing your taxes. Anything that you have to give in a mandatory manner, that's taxation. But then in the Old Testament, there's also free will offering, and that is what we're following today. Now, I don't know what your church's teaching is here. I did not have a chance to. You all go to different churches, right? You all go to different churches, so it's not from one church. How many churches teach the traditional view that tithing, that you have to give 1/10 of what you have to the church? Your church, several. How many churches teach that it's all free will? Now in New Testament. Okay, good. Okay. How many churches you've never heard any teaching about giving? Yeah, that's also very typical in Chinese churches. Pastors are very afraid to talk about giving or tithing. I can't say which one is correct. I started on this side teaching. I actually have taught a lot of workshops when we teach tithing. I would quote from Malachi chapter 3 and said that there's 1/10 going into the church. But then more and more I'm moving toward this side. And believing that in the New Testament is all out of our love for the Lord. It's no longer just 1/10. Maybe the Lord will call you to give more than 1/10. I believe the 1/10 principle, maybe in the New Testament, that's the minimum. And the Lord really would move in our hearts to give more than what was required. So tithing, no matter which camp you're on, in our budgeting, in our financial management, tithing is the first hurdle that we have to overcome. If you're not tithing, if you're a Christian, if you're not tithing at all, then you really need to talk to your pastor about tithing, about giving, because we simply cannot manage our finances in a Christian way without a sound biblical basis for giving. And when we talk about doing budgets, we have to put that in the budgets. The giving is not an afterthought. It's not that we have something left over for that month so that we give to the Lord. Giving to the Lord is not tipping, just giving something to please the Lord, or giving Him whatever is left over. That's really not right. So I think the first thing that we have to get right is our giving. And it's particularly difficult for people from mainland China. And also for Christians who accepted the Lord in the Middle Age. I don't know why Christians from mainland China has a very difficult time giving. I don't know why, but we have to do more teaching about giving. Okay. Once we get through the tithing issue, then the next issue is discipline in our financial stewardship. It requires us to have some discipline. The reason is everyone around us are affected by consumerism in America here, which teaches that you can spend to your heart's desire even if you don't have the money, even if you don't have the ability, that you can just spend it any way you like. And consumerism tells us that you have to have a certain material things in order to be happy and successful and self-worth. That's what our society teaches our young people and teaches everyone, that there's a certain lifestyle that you have to live. There are certain things that you have to own in order to show that you're making it, and in order to have happiness. And all the commercials, all the advertisements are telling us that you want to spend. And if you don't have the money to spend, it's okay, because you have credit cards. People let you spend money that you don't have. And when they measure economic status, they measure the amount of consumer debt. The higher, the better. The higher you spend, the multiplier effect, the more you borrow, the better the economy is. That is just the way capitalistic economy is based on. And we can't change that. You simply cannot change that unless you move to another country. You can't change that. That's what America is encouraging people to do, is to spend money they don't